The reason you're struggling on defense right now in Madden 26 is because you're not using the right settings, or worse, you're taking too long to set up your coverages. But don't worry, by the end of this video, I'm going to fix both those issues and more with 5 tips that'll transform your defense. I will warn you though, if you skip out on any of these tips, it could be the reason you're still giving up 50 points a game. Let's jump right into it. All right, and so like I just said, you need to make sure you're using the right settings. Let me show you the best ones to use right now. All right, so when we talk about defense settings, you want to make sure you have your cornerback matchups on balance so that your defense doesn't come out completely misaligned, okay? You want to make sure you have defense and motion response on disabled so that when you're running zone coverage, if you're running zone, your DBs aren't following receiver in zone coverage, right? That's a huge problem. You want to make sure your RPO pass key is on conservative, right? And then you want to make sure you have your safety depth on close with your safety width on pinch, curl flats on 5, okay? So we are going to show, and then also you need to come into your game options, all right? Come into settings, come into game options, all right? You're going to scroll down until you see gameplay helpers. You're going to make sure you have auto flip defense play on, ball hawk on, heat seeker assist on with your window set to about 100%. That'll help you dive tackle when you're gap shooting, all right? And then you want to make sure you have your switch stick delay on none here so that you can switch it as fast as possible. And then you want to obviously have switch assist on, okay? Let me go ahead and show you why you want to make sure you have your safety depth on close, because if we call Tampa 2 right here and the offense, this is a very common meta, right? They're just going to take the snap. A lot of people are just going to try to hype throw these seam passes, but you can understand why this works. You have a safety over the top, you have an underneath defender underneath, and so essentially what you're able to do is close the airspace in between these two guys, and you can see how there's really no room in between number 7 and 24 here for them to throw this seam. And so if they just try to high throw it, you're actually able to see both of them are able to break on it because of that. All right, and it would work to the other side of the field too if we were to attack Harrison Smith, and we actually will do it right here. We'll just put our running back on like a shriek route, right? So you can see how that area looks open, right? But our safety is just too close to the line of scrimmage to where when we try to high throw it again, the airspace in between Harrison Smith and the underneath zone is just too little, right? You're able to see, boom, right here, in between these two guys, that like there's no room to throw this pass, and so when they try to high throw it, it's like it's just lockdown defense and you're able to take away everything. All right, but also I wanted to break down why you need to make sure your cornerback matchups on balance. This is a very critical element. All right, you have to make sure that it's on balance, because if you put it on buy speed when the offense no huddles, your guys will basically try to follow all the way around in zone coverage. All right, so they're going to try to match up by whatever you have it set to. And you can just see how your zones are completely crisscrossed here. Look at this coverage, or excuse me, look at this defense right here. So it's like if the offense just calls any half-decent route concept where they have a shriek on the field, they're just going to be able to throw that pass right there for an easy touchdown over the top. And here's the thing, you wouldn't really recognize that unless you looked at your play art, and you certainly wouldn't be able to fix it unless you weren't using the setting at all, or you made sure that you had, you called a timeout. You have to make sure you have the setting off, or you call a timeout when you see that, because you're never going to be able to move all of those guys back into the right position. But those are the best defense settings you need to be using, and why. All right, so like I mentioned in the intro, you're taking too long to set up your defensive adjustments. Let me show you the best way to get them done in an instant. All right, so that trick that I'm referring to here is actually called quick adjustments. All right, so here's the breakdown. If you press Y or triangle twice, right, you're going to be able to quick adjust all of your secondary defenders. So your corners, your slot corner, and your safeties. All right, so you can see the button's going to be over their head. If you press that button, now it opens all the adjustments that specific player can be put into. All right, so that's going to, do that for you. If you press D-pad right twice, it's going to open your linebackers. So sometimes you have 2 linebackers, sometimes you have 1, sometimes you have 3. In this formation in particular, I have 2. So I'm able to adjust X by pressing X, and I would be able to adjust A by pressing A. All right, then obviously if you press D-pad left twice, you're going to be able to adjust your defensive linemen. All right, so again, you would be able to press X, Y, A, or B. The PlayStation equivalent would be whatever it is, right? So you can select these guys and put them into each specific zone that they can go into. Now, here's the thing though. You can understand that if I wanted to adjust my 2 safeties, I would press Y twice, then I'd press Y for the 3rd time to adjust my Y safety, and then I'd be able to put him in specific zones. and then I could just press Y twice again, then press LB and put him into his specific zones. But here's the key. You need to understand what buttons do what when you actually get clicked onto the man. And what I mean by that is, if I were to press Y twice, right? Let's just say I wanted to put my safety in an outside third, right? So I would be able to just press right stick to the left right here, right? But if I do it on the other side, right, again, it would be right stick to the left. So now I could put them both in outside thirds. But if I wanted to put my corner in outside third, I would have to press Y twice. Then I'd have to click onto him. But his is up, right? His is left stick up instead of right stick left, right? So it changes depending on where the guy's aligned and who it is. Right, so if I go ahead and just reset this play, you're going to see I'm going to be able to adjust this into a cover 3 defense in an instant, right? And so now you're able to see in like less than 2 seconds, you're going to see how this is now a cover 3 cloud defense, and it's a really good coverage shell that's able to close off the middle of the field and still defend the sideline areas. So you can start to see how, being able to adjust your coverage fast is a huge advantage for you. If I reset the play, right, if I wanted to like cross man the running back with maybe my slot corner, I could do that now. Again, very quickly, because it's just muscle memory of understanding what specific buttons do what and where you want to, go. Now, if you want to shift your defensive line, right, you would press D-pad left to open that defensive line, and then you would be able to, left stick left and, shift in that direction. So it's very, powerful to be able to quick adjust instead of just having to click onto this man, adjust him into his zone, then click onto him. That's just too slow. All right, that's just too slow. We need to start using quick adjustments, and I really believe that's the best way to kind of explain it. You need to make sure you're understanding the button group. So Y twice is secondary, D-pad left is the defensive lineman, and then D-pad right is going to be the linebackers. And then you can actually just click onto them and put them in whatever, assignment that you want. That's a pro's guide to how to quick adjust in Madden 26. All right, I know I just talked about a lot of different stuff, and you might forget it in your next game. That's why I created written tactical breakdowns. You can go to the link down below in the description and pinned comment and grab one today, where you'll be able to see every single thing I talked about in this video, step by step, how to do it in written form so that you can save it on your phone in your next game. No more surfing the web, no more watching videos. The information is right at your fingertips. Again, go to the link down below in the description, pinned comment, and you can get all of my written tactical breakdowns for only $30 a month if you subscribe to Madden University. I can't wait to help you out. All right, so the next great thing you need on defense is a blitz to get the quarterback down in a hurry. Let me show you my favorite to use right now. All right, so that blitz is going to be here from nickel through 3 odd, and you're going to come into overload 3 press. All right, you're just going to call the play. You're going to press RB twice so that you can show blitz your defense, and now you can see this is exactly what we want. Okay, here's a couple of important notes and disclaimers though. You can see if they're going to run a spread formation like this, you can see how you're in cover 3, so the seam on the left side would be wide open. So instead, what you need to do is adjust your coverage again through quick adjustments. See how everything kind of leads into one another, right? That's why it's important to watch the whole video. But you just press you press Y twice, then you press LB, and then you press left stick up to put him in a D path. Then I'm gonna press Y twice, X, and then I want to put my X corner in a hard flat, or I can put them in a cloud flat, really whatever I want to do. All right, so now you're actually going to be able to defend the seam a lot better, especially if they want to put Jerry Jeudy on that go ball. All right, now you are going to press RB, and you're going to pat the right stick up to pass him in your defense. Now, with this blitz, you want to make sure you're turning the guard, number 70, you want him to look outside towards the right sideline in this case. All right, so again, we're going to pass commit, and when they go to take the snap, I'm just looping down and outside. So boom, down, outside, and then I'm going to basically shift the whole O-line in that direction, especially the right side of the offensive line, and then it's going to make it very easy for us to come in free. Again, because my whole defensive line is shifting towards the right. So I just need to do the same thing with my user, kind of just duck down and, outside to the right here. And then that's going to allow my slot corner to just come in free off the edge, because his left tackle, 68, is forced to block 2 people, and obviously he can't do that. Right? And so another great thing about turning him outside or away from the side that you're blitzing is you get this double team right here. where you're just going to force 70 Zeitler to double team this defensive tackle, which is fine because then we're just sending another guy off of the other side of the field, all right? So that's obviously 5-on-5. But you're going to say, BLT, what if they see this blitz coming, right? And they block their running back? Well, that's perfectly fine because the best part about this blitz is that when you have auto flip on, your slot corner is going to align on the same side as their slot receiver. So Jerry Jeudy and number 7, my slot corner right here. Well, in most formations, the running back and slot receiver are on opposite sides. So you're going to pretty much always be able to blitz them off of the opposite side of the running back. And why is that useful? Well, you're going to see right here where a lot of the time these running backs have a hard time of getting over, right, in pass protection, especially if a guy's coming in free off the other side. So you're going to see exactly what I'm talking about here, where, again, they have their running back blocked. I take the snap, turn him outside, and you can see exactly what I just said, right? Where that time he didn't even see the guy because he comes in so fast, right? So, again, boom, take the snap. You see how number 10, Judkins, is looking at me, my user, instead of looking at the slot corner that comes in free. So a lot of the time, and he just recognizes it way too late, right? Quarterback's already on the ground by the time he turns around. So you can see that's what I'm talking about. Whereas if I were to slide him over, I'm actually going to do that right here just so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. Okay, if I block my running back, can I motion him over? Yeah, I can. So if I slide my running back over, now he's on the same side as that blitzer, right? So again, we're going to set up the same way. They have their running back on the same side. You can see how this is going to be way easier for them to block because you're going to take the snap, and actually it really didn't make a difference. So kind of actually makes the blitz even better. But I'm telling you, I've played this game for a long time. If you blitz off the same side as the running back, it's going to be a little bit harder. But you do see how this time the slot corner gets picked up. Now, luckily for us, another man comes in free, which shows you the prowess really of this blitz. But for the most part, if you just blitz them off of the non-running back side, you're going to be able to get that flying pressure from the get that flying pressure from the slot corner, regardless if they block their halfback or not. So this is a really great blitz to, again, get the quarterback down in an instant. All right, so I know you're tired of giving up corner routes, crossing routes, anything deep or even underneath. Let me show you the best defense to slow all of that down. All right, so that coverage shell that I'm talking about is going to be match coverage. Now, my favorite is cover 6. Here's the key, though. You want to make sure you have all 3 zone drop depth on default. So flats, curl flats, hook zones, all on default, okay? And then if you go ahead and call any match-based play, like you see how there's a purple little icon that says match, and then for blitz, it's red. It says blitz, then zone. So look for a match-based play. Again, like I said, my favorite's cover 6. So we're going to go ahead and come into cover 6 right here. We're going to pass commit our defense. All right, we're going to stand right here. Now, you can get quick pressure on the quarterback by combining this with a custom stunt, right? So in this case, I'll use the right Tom 2-man. All right, so you're going to see right here where, again, we have that right Tom 2-man. And you're just going to see this, the route comes they have called. This is actually a pretty good play where they're going to have a deep dig to Tillman, and then they're just going to have a high low to their tight end and slot receiver, right? So if we go ahead and have them be in base protection here, take the snap, you're just going to see how great of coverage we actually get. Like, you can just see how we're pretty much sitting on all of their receivers. You know, we might be trailing them for a step, but for the most part, it's like if they were to throw that pass, these would be pass breakups. So you're going to be able to see, boom, we're here. And, I mean, I didn't even have my user on the field. That's something else that's important. But you're able to see how we're going to double team this drag. We're going to be able to guard this backside dig. And we're going to be able to take away this crosser. We understand how dangerous crossing routes are against pretty much every defense in the game. But again, by simply, utilizing a coverage like cover 6, you're going to be able to shut them down. Now, I'm actually going to put my user, on the field this play. All right, so we're going to go ahead and call this same play right from them. Boom, we're going to take the snap, and you're just going to see how I just user this, come back here, everything's guarded. And I didn't even switch stick on that play. If you wanted to switch stick too, you could make, this coverage even better. But honestly, you don't want to over switch stick. Right here, I have no reason to. Everyone's taken away. Everyone's guarded perfectly. Tight end strapped. Backside digs guarded well. Crossers strapped. And then I'm coming back to kind of recover the backside dig if they want to make that throwing window. So you can kind of see how you're in match, which means you're in zone, but then your guys are going to convert to man coverage, perfectly. And it really is just a beautiful coverage because there's not a whole lot of usering on the field. Like, of course, I'm going to take away windows. Usering is still important, but you're essentially going to let your defense play for you, where everything's going to get guarded down the field and the defense is kind of going to react and adapt to the route concepts that they have called, right? So if you go ahead, and this time we're just going to have them call that same flood concept, right? So we're going to go ahead and put the running back on a table route right here. We're going to call it towards this side, right? And we're just going to have them be in regular protection, where you're going to see how we're going to perfectly be able to stop this, right? So we're going to call our custom stunt to get a little bit better pressure on the quarterback, and we're just going to watch this. Perfect defense where we're able to take away the corner route, to the slot receiver, Jerry Jeudy. We're able to take away the table route out of the backfield. So again, boom, slot corner comes over, takes away this table route. Harrison Smith, inside quarter, takes away this corner out on the field, jumps the route. If they threw this would get intercepted most likely. And then even on the other side, where they're going to call another just delayed flood concept. And so we're sitting on both of these routes with all three of our defenders. So you can start to see how match coverage is valuable. It's going to start out of zone, but depending on what routes they have on the field, that's what your players are going to do. And so it's going to confuse a lot of offensive players because they're going to be expecting zone right off their snap, and then they're going to see this defense that converts. So again, key is to make sure you have all three zone drop depths on default and you're having a good user, particularly over the middle of the field. All right, maybe you feel like when you send those heavy blitzes like overload 3 press that I showed you earlier, the rest of your coverage is lacking. Let me show you a way to get pressure organically by using custom stunts. Alright, so a couple of things to remember here with custom stunts. You need to have at least 4 defensive linemen. So if I were to hold this play call button, I'm able to access these stunts because I'm in a nickel defense with 4 defensive linemen. Alright, so when you come to these formations, you want to a lot of the time be stunting out of 4+ defensive linemen. So from nickel, when you run dime, when you run like dime 2-3 Sam where you only have 2 defensive linemen, you only have access to 2-man stunts, right? Because you don't have 4 defensive linemen, whereas if you in a 4-man, you call a 4-man stunt, right? And so we're going to come in a nickel 3-3 single mug. We're going to come into the Texas 4-man custom stunt. And this was one that was really good at the beginning of the year, got a little bit of a nerf, but I do believe it's back. Because you're going to see how this is very easy. You still have 7 DBs in coverage right here, and you're going to be able to use it or whatever you want, but you're going to be able to get some pretty decent pressure here by only sending 4. Because again, this is a defense where you actually see we're able to come in free right there. But for the most part, you're trying to call this defense to just collapse the pocket on the quarterback, right? So again, you're going to see, boom, we're looping around these edges, are able to get, into the backfield very, very quickly and actually take stuff away. Whereas, probably what you're doing wrong is you're just not calling any stunts, right? And so if we just reset the stunt and I call this defense regular, you're going to see how it's just going to be regular pass rush. And you can see how a lot of the time that quarterback is going to have a pocket to step up into if they want to take it, right? And so essentially with this custom stunt blitz, you're just trying to collapse the pocket on them, right? You're not even really worried about containing the quarterback. I will show you in a second how you can do both collapse the pocket and contain the quarterback. But you're going to see right here where we're going to stunt them, I'm going to try to step up in the pocket, and you can see how I'm just stepping up into blockers, pass rushers, because the defensive linemen are looping around right into those gaps and right into those areas that I would be trying to step up into. And there's really nothing that they can really do they can try to roll out on you, but as far as them stepping up, there's nothing they can do. They can't step up, right? They're just going to have to stand tall or drift back, which is a huge advantage for you on defense, and it's going to make your pass defense a lot better. Again, you want to make sure that you're using stuff. I wasn't holding my controller here, but you would want to take away this drag, take away their initial throwing lanes, because they're going to have to hold onto the ball, trying to get more time in the pocket. But like I always try to do for you guys, I'm going to give you the counter that the offense is going to try to do, right? So they're going to see you constantly running this stunt, and they're just going to take the snap and immediately roll out. Where actually this time, he did a little bit of a better job, maybe because Shedeur Sanders isn't the fastest quarterback in the world. But if you call this stunt against, Josh Allen or some of these fast quarterbacks in MUT, it's you're going to, kind of right here, where you're going to pretty easily just be able to get outside the pocket and roll out, for the offense, right? So really the best way to counter that is to call a different stunt, right? You don't have to just call the 4-man stunt. You can actually call the left exit 2-man, where you're going to be able to contain off of the right side because the quarterback's right-handed, and you would flip it. You would call the the right exit two-man if he was left-handed, so that you want to contain off the quarterback side, right? So you want to stunt off one side. So you see we're stunting on the left, and then we're containing off of the right side. So again, right here, we're going to just try to roll out again. But you can just see how we have that contained leverage up the field, running up the field, able to take everything away. And then on the other side of the field, I mean, you're able to see we're going to be able to stunt. So I'm going to call the same left exit two-man stunt right here, spread my defensive line, set it up. Now, clearly the stunt's not going to be as good because you're only stunting off of one side, but you're still able to see how we're able to, walk in the backfield free and force that was probably the best rep we've had this whole session, right? Because you're still confusing the offensive line with the stunt, but now you don't sacrifice that quarterback contain off the other side. Going to be very confusing for them to deal with, and that's why you need to start incorporating custom stunts to get more organic pressure on the quarterback without blitzing them. All right, so again, if you enjoyed any of those 5 tips I broke down in this video and want everything in written form so you can access it in your next game, go to the link down below in the pinned comment and grab my written tactical breakdown for this video, where again, everything's going to be written down for you to save on your phone in your next game. And you can also save 70% off if you subscribe to Madden U, where you're going to get 10 plus breakdowns each month instead of buying them individually. But if you want a full defensive scheme to pair with all 5 of these tips in this video, check out this video right here where I break down my full Vikings defensive ebook. I'll see you over there.